My wife has been cheating with her best friend's husband. My 6-year-old daughter isn't even mine and was his child. I'm a 47-year-old guy and my 48-year-old wife left me a year and a half ago for a dude who was married to her best friend from high school. Talk about a betrayal, right? We were married for 20 years and I thought we had 2 kids together. Recently, I discovered that my 6-year-old daughter isn't actually mine. She's his. My ex knew this from the start of her pregnancy and kept it a secret from me. My name is on the birth certificate and I plan to fight for custody because she's been my daughter all along and that certificate means something legally. Sure, she might not be my biological child, but she's still my daughter. It's clear this affair had been going on for a while and finding out was like a punch to the gut. When I asked her to choose between him and me, she picked him. Why? Because he can perform in bed multiple times. That's the only reason she gave. Forget the fact that I worked 2 jobs to support her education while she stayed home with the kids and cheated on me. I sacrificed my own dreams and music career for her so she could chase hers and have a family. My family has always been my top priority. My ex has always been pretty cold. She's bipolar and life with her wasn't always a walk in the park. Her emotional and physical outbursts were really tough to handle, but I stuck it out because I thought she couldn't control it. Turns out that wasn't entirely the case. She's admitted to friends that she would hit me just because she felt like it or when things didn't go her way. My kids have seen her lash out at me more times than I can count and every time I just took it, feeling terrible that they had to witness it. There was this one time when she got really mad because I didn't take the trash out right when I got home. She grabbed me by the neck and started squeezing while my son looked on in shock. I told her that our son would always remember this moment. That's when she let go. I realize now I should have left a long time ago. I like to think that if it weren't for the kids, I would have. I didn't want them to grow up in a broken home and I held on to the hope that my wife would eventually return to the person I fell in love with. But now I see that those days were long gone. After everything came out, my wife sat down with her friend, the one whose husband she was cheating with, and just admitted it all, no regrets, no apologies. Then she got up and walked away. Her friend told me about it. My wife took the kids and moved in with him to an apartment just behind ours. Even then, I hoped she'd realize that things weren't better with him. He had cheated on his own wife multiple times and she knew that. I spent that whole first year waiting for her to come back. She kept the keys to our apartment and I thought she was holding on to them because she planned to return. But by the end of that year, the cruelty started again, with him showing up at the bus stop while I was dropping the kids off for school, saying, "I'm here to see my daughter off." Not your daughter, mine. I asked him, so why were you totally fine for the last 5 years letting me raise her, giving her my last name, being there for her birth, and treating her like my own? Where were you during all that? Why is my name on the birth certificate as her dad instead of yours? That question almost got me punched, and it definitely led to a drunken visit from both of them later that night because he wanted to throw down. My ex then decided to air everything out on social media, bragging about her new boyfriend on Facebook. Our friends were stunned and reached out to both me and his wife. I made sure to grab all the screenshots I could. She doesn't seem to care about the mess she's made with our divorce coming up. But why should she? I already got her with a paternity test. In the end, I started to spiral. I kept thinking about what I could have done differently or better. She blamed me for not being there for her, but if I wasn't working 2 jobs, how would we have made ends meet? I didn't clean when I got home because I was exhausted and she'd yell at me about the trash while our kids were coloring on the walls, tearing down blinds, and putting holes in the walls under her watch. But apparently, not taking out the trash after a 16-hour shift was the real issue. The worst part was that I wanted my family back so much that I convinced myself it was all my fault. It took me a while to see the reality of it all. Everything shifted when my brother pushed me to join his band and insisted I meet the other members to see how I felt. That changed everything for me. I still said no, but I ended up forming a friendship with them and casually dating a friend that the rhythm guitarist introduced me to. I quickly fell for this woman and it felt amazing to finally be in a loving relationship instead of one filled with constant yelling and violence. During this time, my ex still had keys to our apartment. She would sometimes just walk in to drop off things for the kids. The first time she barged in while my new girlfriend was there, it didn't go well. That night, she called me, demanding to know who my girlfriend was and why she was in our place. I had a blast telling my ex that my girlfriend was none of her concern. She had moved on, living with someone else. Lately, my ex has been acting really erratic about my new girlfriend and has even started stalking her. My ex sent my girlfriend a friend request on Facebook and insisted she accepted. When my girlfriend said no, my ex called me, yelling that I needed to make her accept it so she could see what kind of person I was around our kids. My girlfriend took the phone and told her she didn't need to be friends. I made it clear that any communication about the kids could happen through messenger or phone calls, and my ex wouldn't have access to our private lives, friends, or family since she's not part of my girlfriend's world. My ex didn't take that well. My girlfriend showed me a bunch of friend requests she got from people connected to my ex. Then, my ex started coming over every weekend when I was at work, snooping around. I was on the phone with my girlfriend while I was at work when I heard my ex walk in, and my girlfriend asked her if she needed something. My ex said she wanted to check how much milk I had in the fridge for the kids' visit. My girlfriend told her we had it covered, and my ex left. When I got back home, I asked for the apartment key since she doesn't live there anymore. Then she took my son's keys and made copies for herself. When my lease ended, my girlfriend suggested I move in with her to put some distance between us and my ex. My ex tried everything to stop that. She even called the cops, claiming I was taking her stuff, but when they asked her what belonged to her, she couldn't name anything from my place. Now we have the kids every other weekend, but my kids told me their mom doesn't want them talking about what we do together. That didn't last long, though. Now she's grilling the kids for every detail she can get. I think it's just jealousy. We live by the beach, and my girlfriend is doing really well for herself. When we have the kids, we take them for walks on the boardwalk, let them play in the sand, or visit the aquarium. If they come home with any prizes, my ex just throws them out. Lately, I've noticed that my ex has started dressing and looking a lot like my girlfriend. She dyed her hair and cut it to match. Whatever we do with the kids, my ex seems to copy us the following week. If we go to the beach, she takes them to the beach too. If we hit up the zoo, she takes the kids there too. And if she finds out what we had for dinner, she insists on making the same thing and wants our kids to pick who they liked better. Just last week, my son said he wanted to live with us because he thinks my ex is a bit off. You can bet I'm bringing all this up in court. Just when I thought things couldn't get any wilder with her, she starts sending me bear images the other night. Seriously. My girlfriend was right next to me when those messages popped up and I instantly got defensive, telling her I didn't ask for that and that my ex and I aren't in touch like that. I even offered my girlfriend my phone to check it out herself. She looked at the pics and asked for my ex's number so she could send her some bear images back just to show her how it's done. She called my ex and asked what was going on. I told my ex that my girlfriend was right there and saw the messages and she was not happy. My ex tried to play it off, saying she meant to send them to someone else. My girlfriend pointed out that my name is at one end of the alphabet and her boyfriend's is at the other. Then she asked who the new guy was since it was supposedly meant for someone else. My ex just hung up. Honestly, I have no clue what kind of game my ex is playing. This whole situation is just wild to me. Let me set a few things straight because people keep acting like I still live there. My girlfriend didn't send her bears back. That was just her way of responding to my ex's antics, suggesting she should show her how to be creative, especially since the pics were of my ex posing in a shirt and making silly faces in the mirror. My girlfriend was just making a light-hearted joke about my ex's lack of originality. I no longer live in the apartment I shared with my ex-wife. I've moved in with my girlfriend because even after I took my keys back, my ex used my son's keys to keep coming in. She can't get into my new place and my kids don't have keys for that reason. I'm currently in a custody battle for my kids, which is tough since I'm not the biological dad of my daughter. However, I'm fighting based on the birth certificate that lists me as her father, giving me some parental rights. My ex has been prescribed medication, but I'm really starting to question whether she's actually taking it. I always check my kids for any signs of bruises or abuse. But she messed up by getting physical with her boyfriend, who then punched a hole in the wall and warned her that if she ever hits him again, he'll fight back. Update. This past weekend was my daughter's 6th birthday. It wasn't my weekend to have the kids, but surprisingly, my ex asked if I wanted them for the celebration. Naturally, I said yes, and I even got to keep them for an extra 2 days. I had a feeling they were up to something and just dropping the kids off with me so they could have their fun. What really gets me is that this is the first time he can actually celebrate his daughter's birthday, and instead of doing something meaningful as her dad, he hands her over to me and my girlfriend. Is it just me, or does that seem a bit messed up? Update 2. Just a little update, but I can't help but shake my head at this. So, Saturday night, I got a furious text from my ex saying she hopes I'm feeling great about my victory. I know I shouldn't have engaged, but I couldn't resist asking what her deal was. Her reply was all over the place, and then she told me to go ahead and gloat. Gloat? Oh, you bet. Apparently, something went down with her and she accused me of being involved. I asked her what I was supposedly in on, but instead of answering, she went off about how all men are scum and can't be trusted. From that, I figured out 2 things. She's definitely drunk again, and the guy she left me for probably cheated on her. I kept my mouth shut. When she's in that mood, any reply just leads to a fight, so I decided to stay out of it. I just read her messages and thought she got what she deserved. She ditched me for my friend, who was married and had cheated on his wife 3 times, with her being the third. When I pointed this out as she was leaving, she said she knew what she was getting into. I guess she thought she could change him. Once she ran out of insults for me, she turned her fire on my girlfriend, calling her ugly and saying I could have anyone but chose someone like her. My girlfriend is absolutely amazing, both in personality and looks. My ex, on the other hand, is super jealous of her and, as I've mentioned before, has been stalking my girlfriend and trying to make her look like her. It's gotten to the point where my ex is telling me that I don't really love my new girlfriend and that it's impossible for me to fall for someone right after losing her. I met my current girlfriend a year after my breakup with my ex. It took me a while to feel comfortable enough to trust someone again, and that trust was something my girlfriend really earned. Then my ex had the nerve to say that I only love my new girlfriend because I lost my apartment and I'm just using her for a place to stay. She claimed it's only love when you're homeless. I actually had my own place right across from my ex because she chose to stay in the same complex to rub it in my face that she left me for my friend. When my lease ended, I decided to move in with my girlfriend and change jobs to be closer to her. I knew my ex was trying to start a fight, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. Just when I thought my ex's antics couldn't get any more ridiculous, she said she was sorry for not being enough for me. I wanted to call her and shout that it was me who wasn't good enough for her. She's the one who left, right? Did she forget who walked out and who replaced the other? She left me for a married guy who had cheated on his wife multiple times. What a total winner, right? She went after my girlfriend again, claiming we both know she's the one I really wanted. She said my girlfriend couldn't even compare to her. At that point, I was done. I told her to reach out when she was sober and in a better mood, then I turned my phone off. A few hours later, when my girlfriend got home, she could tell something was off. I warned her she might get upset and handed her my phone so she could see the messages for herself. She read through it and just burst out laughing, handing my phone back and saying it looked like my ex had cheated. I agreed, but I tried to reassure her, thinking those nasty comments might make her doubt me. But they didn't bother her at all. She pointed out that my ex's true colors really show when she's drunk and guessed my ex was probably mad she couldn't come to me for revenge. I haven't heard from my ex since then. I'm pretty sure she looked back at those texts the next day and felt embarrassed. I also suspect she's back with him because she hates being alone. Honestly, 20 years of her abuse has left a mark that I'm still trying to deal with. No matter what I did, I was always in the wrong. Even when I was right, I was wrong for disagreeing with her and making her feel foolish. I realize now that was just her playing the guilt trip. A lot of this stuff is happening without me even realizing it, and I'm just tiptoeing around things. When my phone buzzes, I automatically say who it is and show my girlfriend the screen, just like I used to do to dodge arguments and blame. I don't really need to do that anymore, but breaking that habit is tough. When I do this, my girlfriend usually doesn't even glance at the phone and just tells me I'm doing it again. That's the frustrating part. If she doesn't check, it feels like she's not confirming I'm being honest, and that makes me anxious about getting attacked later. I know it's not going to happen, but it's a hard cycle to shake off. There's a lot of personal stuff I'm working through. I'll get there eventually. But honestly, that's the hardest part, right? Healing from everything, not just the cheating, but also unlearning all the control tactics that were used on you. Just when you think you've got it figured out, you jump into a new relationship and all those old habits come rushing back. You end up acting like you did in your previous relationship just to keep things smooth instead of being your true self. It's definitely a long journey to heal. Update 3. Last I heard, my ex got cheated on by the guy she left me for. As I expected, they got back together just 3 days later. I saw that coming. She's got no one else to turn to now, so she's stuck with him. Ever since that last blow-up, I haven't really heard from her except for signing a few divorce papers and sorting out stuff about the kids, which I'm honestly grateful for. But I know it's only a matter of time before she hits the bottle and sends me another one of those drunken rants about how terrible I am. So, Halloween rolled around and my band got invited to play at this annual event my buddy organizes. I've been doing it for a few years now and it's become a bit of a tradition. My ex used to come along, but last year was different. That was when I discovered she was cheating on me with my best friend and that my daughter, who's now 6, is actually his kid. She wasn't invited this time. But guess what? She showed up anyway with her new boyfriend, the one she left me for, who also cheated on her and brought the kids. I was livid. This party is for adults only, and she knows that. I really think she brought the kids just to try and get me kicked out. Security kept telling her she couldn't come in, but she was there arguing, saying the kids wanted to see their dad perform. Meanwhile, security was telling me I needed to get them out and she was yelling at me about prioritizing a party over our kids. My friend, who was hosting, came over and said she could stay to watch me play a couple of songs, but then she had to leave or he'd call the cops. I told my friend not to give in to her, but he insisted he was doing it for the kids. It was a rough night. I was up on stage, completely unaware of the chaos happening around the party. I got the scoop during my breaks between sets. Turns out my ex tried to stir up trouble with my girlfriend and it backfired big time. My girlfriend stood her ground and called her out for using our kids in her little games. A bunch of people saw it all go down and when I stepped off stage, several folks pointed me in their direction. By the time I got there, the drama had fizzled out, but my ex was giving my girlfriend the death stare from across the room. Then my daughter totally called out my ex, announcing to everyone that she has 2 daddies, me and her mom's boyfriend, who's actually her real dad. That really hit my ex hard and she snapped at my daughter for making her look bad before storming off. But my son didn't want to leave with her and fought to stay with me. My ex had her boyfriend track down my girlfriend to see if we could keep him and she was cool with it, working it out with my friend to keep my son close for the rest of the party. We ended up taking him home the next night. Honestly, I was a bundle of nerves all night. I must have apologized to my friend, girlfriend and son a million times for dragging them into the mess. I messed up every song because I was too busy scanning the crowd, worried that things might escalate into a fight. I didn't find out until after I got off stage that my ex had left without taking my son. When I dropped him off the next night, she made sure to be MIA. Her boyfriend told me she knew I was coming and wanted to dodge any drama about what went down. He said sorry about everything and wanted to chat about her and her behavior. I told him I wasn't interested in that conversation and walked away. Later that night, my son called to say they were having a huge fight over me. Her boyfriend is fed up with her drama and accused her of still having feelings for me. He asked her what bothers her more. That I've moved on and she can't come back, or that if she hadn't left me for him, I might have left her for my girlfriend anyway. According to my son, that's what kicked off the argument. I could hear them yelling in the background and asked if he wanted me to come pick him up. He said no. I stayed on the phone with him until things calmed down. So, that's the situation I'm dealing with right now. I'm still in the middle of the divorce and pushing ahead. I've stopped dwelling on what I've lost. I just need to get my kids out of that environment. And yes, I'm still fighting for that. Update 4. My 6-year-old daughter wouldn't stop talking about the elf at her soon-to-be ex-wife's place, so my girlfriend got one for our house, thinking my daughter would be thrilled to see that the elf sent a friend to watch her here. But her reaction was shocking. The second she saw the elf, she exploded. She started yelling at it, saying it had to leave or she'd tell Santa it was bad and lied. She threw a massive tantrum, demanding it go or else she'd tell. My girlfriend tried to soothe her, saying the elf wouldn't lie. If she's on her best behavior, he'll let Santa know. But if she's misbehaving, he'll spill the beans. He won't sugarcoat it, so all she needs to do is stay on the nice list. My daughter flashed a fierce look at my girlfriend and growled that he's going to tell on her. Seriously? So much was racing through my mind at that moment. Why is she scared of him but not her mom? How many fibs is she throwing around at home that my ex just brushes off? What else is my ex overlooking? I've already had my share of issues with my daughter being dishonest. She often claims her brother hits her, even when he's nowhere near her, and we've been trying to fix that. I mentioned it to my soon-to-be ex, and she said she knows about it and is dealing with it. Now, when I drop the kids off today, I'm planning to bring up what happened with the elf because something feels off. I can't shake the feeling that something deeper is going on. I think therapy might be a good idea because it's clear there's more happening than I realize. There's definitely something not right over there. I already know that at her mom's place, she's treated like a princess because her real dad is around and she can do no wrong. Meanwhile, I know he gives my son a hard time since he's mine. My girlfriend and I talked to the kids today about their behavior. We asked my son if my daughter pulls this stuff at home, lying and trying to get everyone in trouble. He said not really, which made us wonder why she acts out here. When we asked my daughter why she lies about her brother, she got defensive and insisted he hit her. She claimed it just happened. When we asked when, she said it was just a minute ago. But he wasn't even in the house. He was just taking out the trash and hadn't been around her all day. He's been keeping his distance because of her lies. When I called her out on it, she got furious and even threatened my girlfriend by raising her fist. I ended up taking away her TV and video games, asking her why she's acting out and not behaving. She just looked at me and growled, saying it's because she doesn't want to. Looks like I need to tighten up the discipline because I'm not putting up with this nonsense. Update 5. It seems my daughter's meltdown over the elf on the shelf opened up a whole can of worms. I dug into why she reacted that way and discovered a bunch of issues I didn't even know existed. To sum it up, my girlfriend and I got her an elf on the shelf over the weekend since she always talked about loving the one at her mom's house, where my cheating soon-to-be ex-wife lives. But when she saw our elf, she flipped out, screaming that it had to go because it would tell Santa about her. This made me wonder why the elf at her mom's was fine, but ours was a problem. I asked her, but she didn't give me any answers. We had dinner with my girlfriend's ex-stepmother, who she stayed close to after her dad cheated. This definitely adds to my trust issues with my soon-to-be ex-wife, since I can see where my girlfriend's values lie because of that relationship. During dinner, the stepmother briefly mentioned some abuse my girlfriend faced from her stepfather, and my son reacted visibly, but didn't say anything at the time. While driving them home, he really opened up about the chaos happening at his place. Honestly, I didn't see that coming at all. Apparently, the ex-wife of my soon-to-be ex-wife's boyfriend is on a warpath, dealing with the affair between her husband and my wife, with some serious rage and hostility. She's out for revenge and is doing everything possible to make their lives miserable, even dragging her kids into it to go after my son, since he's the child of the woman who took her husband. Those kids think it's hilarious to teach their half-sister, my daughter, to join in on the attacks against my son. When I asked my daughter about it, she said it was just a game. I explained that it's not fair to her brother and that it's mean, not a game at all. She started crying, claiming I didn't want her to have any fun and threw a tantrum. I made it clear that this behavior needs to stop, but she just rolled her eyes and said she didn't want to. She thinks it's fun. Seriously. I warned her that if it keeps up, there would be consequences and I'm not putting up with it anymore. If she mistreats her brother, everything is getting taken away. No TV. No toys. No video games. Everything. That led to another meltdown, but I'm standing my ground. When I dropped the kids off, I asked my ex what was going on and confronted her about what I heard. She told me that the other woman has been doing everything she can to ruin their lives. She's been sabotaging their work schedules, which has hit them hard financially, and she mentioned that Christmas is going to be a disaster for them because of it. I brought up the kids being taught to bully our son and how our daughter was being roped into it, and her response was that there's only so much she can do. She can't keep an eye on all of them, and I told her if she knows about it, she needs to take action because it's a real issue when their chaos spills over into my home. I can tell she's not doing anything to fix it and none of the kids are being held accountable. My daughter thinks it's fine to misbehave at my place and she's still figuring out that her actions have consequences. I have to remind her of this every other weekend since I don't see her enough to really drive the point home. So, it feels like we're starting from scratch each time. This also explains why she's scared of our elf, but not the one at her mom's. Nothing is changing. Now I've got a new issue on my hands. The other kids are making things tough for all of us. I'm definitely bringing this up in court because my kids are being mistreated by the kids at their mom's place. You can bet I'll mention it. Just to clarify, I'm pursuing custody of both my kids. I was already planning to, but now I have more evidence about what's happening in that household. It kind of sheds light on the elf situation. My daughter isn't scared of the elf there because there are no consequences for her actions. She can act out without anyone stepping in. She was afraid of my elf because she knows she'll get in trouble at my house. I always suspected my ex wasn't addressing my kid's behavior, and this just proves it. The way my daughter reacted, what my son said, and what she mentioned herself all point to that. There's only so much I can do. She has the power to change things, but she's not interested in handling it. It's on me now. I'm taking this to court. Update 6. Today was the day it officially wrapped up. We were on that Zoom court call, and honestly, I was in a daze. I had imagined this moment a million times over the past year, and now it was finally happening. It wrapped up in just 5 minutes. Seriously, only 5. Neither of us was fighting it. She didn't ask for anything, not that she had much to ask for anyway. The paternity tests cleared things up for me. They threw a few quick questions my way, most of which didn't even apply to me. They asked if there was any chance to save the marriage. Nope. Then they asked if I wanted to go ahead with the divorce today. Absolutely. I found it kind of funny when they asked her about any domestic issues or abuse, and she said no. I wasn't even asked that. Just found it interesting. I took my fair share of hits, but it didn't seem to matter in the end. I guess it was all irrelevant since the outcome was the same. It's done. Now it's just family court for custody of the kids, and with everything going on, it's looking more and more like it's in my favor. She wasted no time. 5 minutes after the court ended, she was posting about it on Facebook. I know this because my phone blew up with friends sending me screenshots. She talked about how tough divorce is, but how we need to set a good example for the kids. She even tagged me, which was a rookie move. My friends jumped on her, saying it would be a better example if she didn't rush to social media for attention and likes. I can't really throw stones there, though, since I'm here sharing this with strangers. I waited a few hours before saying anything, and none of you know me personally. But it's over, and honestly, I'm not sure how I should feel. I just feel blank. Update 7. Hey everyone, it's been a minute since I last checked in, and I really appreciate all the messages. I've been in a bit of a funk with everything happening lately, so I haven't felt like sharing much. My divorce got wrapped up last month, so that's one hurdle out of the way. Overall, Christmas was decent, but it took a turn when my ex lost her job. The new partner she moved in with isn't pulling in enough cash, and she came to me asking for help with the kids. Honestly, I wanted to tell her to take a hike since she waited until 3 days before Christmas to drop that bomb on me. My girlfriend and I were scrambling to find gifts with the stores already wiped out. And before anyone says I should have just let my kid see her true colors, trust me, I thought about it. I almost went through with it. But I couldn't do that to my kids on Christmas, so I told her I'd help this one time only. No more after this. When she came to pick up the gifts, she wanted to come inside to see where the kids sleep. I told her that wasn't a good idea, and she insisted it was her right. When she tried to push past me, my girlfriend stepped in and made it clear that my ex wasn't welcome in our home. If she had concerns, she could make some calls, but she wasn't stepping foot in our place. My ex backed off after that. I spent the rest of the night calming my girlfriend down because she was ready to go off on my ex. To put it simply, my girlfriend has my ex completely under control. My ex is making a scene, claiming it's unfair that she's not involved when the kids are with me. Honestly, our life is none of her concern, and my girlfriend has made it clear that my ex has no role in our world. I might be a bit of a fool for this, but I let my girlfriend take charge of the situation. She's got a thick skin when it comes to my ex and is way better at calling out her nonsense than I am. While my ex tries to push my buttons and manipulate me, my girlfriend stands firm like a rock. Since then, my ex hasn't tried any of her games. I've also gotten the kids into therapy because things have been tough for them. We set up a camera in the living room and it's been revealing a lot of my daughter's lies. She's been caught hitting my son and then claiming he hit her first. We've talked to her about it and it seems like she's starting to realize that her lies aren't going to fly here. My son is really frustrated with how slow the court process is and is struggling with not being able to live with us full time yet. He's really close to my girlfriend, so I'm not worried about that. They get along well, which is a relief. But he's been acting out at his mom's place screaming, punching walls, and arguing. I can tell he wants out of there and I'm doing everything I can to make that happen. I believe it will. On top of all this, I've got a new issue with my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend suddenly stalking her. Ironically, I found out about this from another one of her exes, who happens to be my bandmate and the one who introduced us. This guy went off the rails the other night when he was told by the other ex that my girlfriend is happy, has moved on, and he needs to let go and find someone else. His reaction? He crashed his car into a guardrail in a fit of rage. Life's been a wild ride lately and honestly, I can't decide if I should laugh, cry, or just sell tickets to the show. So, here's the scoop. It's been over 2 years since D-Day. The divorce wrapped up about 4 months ago. She's still with the other guy, but I moved on a year back and honestly, life is way better without her around. Fast forward 2 years and I'm still uncovering things. Turns out, there was another buddy of mine she hooked up with before the other guy. Yeah, that one stung a bit. It just makes me realize how long I was in the dark. I missed the signs not once, but twice. Now, I know my daughter isn't mine and I'm starting to wonder about my son. He doesn't really look like me at all. Some of his traits don't match hers either. I keep thinking about it, but do I really want to know? I'm not sure I can handle that kind of blow again. Ignorance is bliss, right? I'm trying to move on from her as much as I can. Co-parenting makes it tricky since I'm stuck with this until the kids are 18. I thought we could be civil without going the grey rock route just to show the kids we can work together. It's funny how the guilty ones are always on the offensive, trying to shift blame even after everything's happened. Even more amusing is how she thought she could still control me. When I didn't play along, she just lashed out. She even tried her old tricks on my girlfriend, but let's just say my girlfriend knows how to handle herself. She's not new to dealing with narcissists. In the end, I know I came out on top. I've got a fresh start with a new job, a new place, and a new love in my life. Honestly, I'm in a much better spot than my ex, who's now facing the fallout from her choices. She not only wrecked our life together, but also made a mess of things for the other guy, and his ex-wife is really making their lives difficult. It's a bummer because this whole situation is impacting my kids, turning their lives upside down. The other guy's wife is definitely not holding back, hitting them hard financially, and my ex has come to me a few times, acting like she's struggling. She lost her job 6 months ago and hasn't found anything since, relying on her new partner, who's also feeling the heat from his ex. I don't feel sorry for her at all, I just hate how this is affecting my kids. I do what I can for them. But it's all about my kids. I won't hand over cash, but I'll cover their needs directly. I refuse to let her use my money for her drinking habits, which is part of why she got fired in the first place. I'm also working on getting custody of my kids, including the one who isn't biologically mine. They need to be away from her. My son is really upset with his mom, and honestly, it's her doing. She's the one who spilled the beans about our divorce to him. He knows his sister is from the other guy, and he's not shy about letting people know. He even told my girlfriend before I had the chance to. I was trying to keep my issues to myself and not overwhelm her. As a newly divorced dad, I've got a lot on my plate, but I didn't want to dump it all on her. Still, my son is angry. On the plus side, he has a really strong bond with my girlfriend. That's his best buddy. My daughter is her mom. She's got a knack for lying and manipulating, always using the same tricks and throwing a fit when things don't go her way. She's definitely picked up some skills. The cameras we installed around the house have been super helpful in catching her fibs. She loves to play the victim, claiming people are mean to her, and often blames my son for hitting her. But the cameras tell a different story, showing her running up to him, hitting him, and then screaming that he hit her. When we confronted her with the footage, she completely lost it. Since then, she stopped making those accusations against him. Now we're catching her sneaking around and trying to pit us against each other, claiming someone said she could have something when they really didn't. And here's the kicker. The cameras are supposed to be for home security, but I'm using them for more than that. Whenever my daughter gets a bruise, my ex goes off about child abuse. She even tried to say my girlfriend was hurting the kids. The truth is, my daughter decided to leap off the couch like the floor was lava. So, I ended up sending my ex the video showing exactly what happened and how we handled the injury. It took a few weeks, but eventually, my ex realized that no one is hurting the kids and we have proof for every little bump and scrape. I know it's a bit extreme to have cameras, but it gives me peace of mind knowing my ex can't pull any tricks on me. Plus, it's nice to check in while I'm at work and see what my girlfriend is up to, whether she's reading, watching a movie, or gaming with my son or her little brother. Thank you for watching this video. For more content like this, subscribe. I post